What's going on, YouTube? This is SG1 Sports, and the 2023 college football season is now over, but we're just getting started with our 64-team tournament. It'll be a simulation tournament starting tonight. This will kick off, and we'll have one game every single night. This will run for 63 days, and it'll end right before March Madness starts, right before the conference tournament start in college basketball. So this will get you a football fix, I've done this the last several years. It's always a lot of fun. If you're wondering about the brackets, the way I did this is I went by the college football playoff rankings, and then I used the FPI rankings to kind of fill out the seedings. I made it to where you didn't have any conference matchups in the first two rounds, so I had to move some teams up and down seed lines just a little bit, not a whole lot. It wasn't really all that hard this time. And no teams that didn't make a bowl game, if they were under 500 in the regular season, they did not make it into this tournament. The games will be over on the SG1 Sports 2 channel. That's where all our simulations are, so you can watch those full games right there every single night, starting tonight with Michigan, Coastal Carolina. So we'll start with the Cotton Bowl region, Michigan, Coastal Carolina, 1 versus 16 matchup there. And we've got Toledo hosting Kentucky, and we'll have Auburn as the 4 seed hosting, or Arizona, I should say, as the 4 seed hosting the 13 seed Auburn. Oklahoma State hosting Virginia Tech. These teams, when these games, after the first 2 rounds, the next round will be the Quick Lane Bowl. That'll be like the Sweet 16. And then on the other side, we've got the Las Vegas Bowl. But the first 2 rounds will be home and away. So the higher seed team will have home field advantage in the first 2 rounds. We've got Oregon versus Wyoming on the other side of the bracket. Troy will host Texas A&M. Missouri hosts UTSA, and then Clemson will host Iowa State. So just looking at this region, obviously Michigan and Oregon, they look like they would probably be on a collision course, but don't count out Missouri, don't count out Arizona. Arizona did pretty well in our Pac-12 tournament that we did. I think they made it to the championship game, so it'll be interesting to see how these teams do in these simulations. But again, Michigan, Oregon, I think definitely have to be the favorites here. And again, they'll wind up playing in the Cotton Bowl in what would be the Elite 8, the regional finals. Next up, we'll go to the Peach Bowl region. We've got Alabama hosting Boston College. Yes, Boston College is a Power 5 team. They're the 16 seed, but that's where they were. They were way down there in the FBI rankings, one of the last teams in. Kansas will host Utah. Interesting matchup there. Notre Dame will host Memphis. Oregon State will host Rutgers, and these teams will play in the Orange Bowl in the Sweet 16. On the other side of the bracket, Florida State will host San Jose State. James Madison will host UCF in the first round. Penn State, the 3 seed, will host Syracuse, and then Tennessee, the 6 seed, will host Texas Tech. These teams will wind up playing in the Tax Slayer Gator Bowl, and then the regional finals will be in Atlanta in the Peach Bowl. You look at Alabama, you look at Florida State, obviously. Penn State, Notre Dame. You've got some sleeper teams here. Tennessee, even potentially Oregon State. I think that you could see a surprise team come out of this region potentially. We'll see how it goes. But this region, the winner of this region will play the winner of the Cotton Bowl that we just showed you. So if the favorites all won out, you'd have Michigan versus Alabama, just like in real life. Let's move on now to the Rose Bowl region. Washington will host Fresno State. And we got West Virginia hosting Maryland. Ole Miss will host Northwestern. NC State hosts Boise State. These teams will try to get to the Fiesta Bowl. And then on the other side, Ohio State will host UNLV. Miami of Ohio will host Duke. Oklahoma hosts Air Force. SMU will host UCLA. These teams will be playing to get to the Military Bowl. And then in the regional finals, again, it'll be the Rose Bowl. Obviously, I tell you what, this region right here, Washington, Ohio State, Oklahoma, Ole Miss, these are all teams that perform really well on the game in these simulations. I could see any of those 4 teams potentially making it out of this region, or maybe we get a surprise. I don't really see a team that jumps out to me. UCLA is an 11 seed. Watch for them to maybe make a run, win a couple of games. We'll see how that goes. But this is the Rose Bowl region. The winner of this region will play the winner of the Sugar Bowl region. We've got Texas hosting Ohio. USC hosting Miami. USC and Miami are 2 teams that historically have done really, really well in these simulations. So we'll see if maybe one of those could upset Texas if we get that matchup potentially. LSU will host Cal. Iowa will host Georgia Tech. The winners of that side will get to the Alamo Bowl. Then on the other side, Georgia will host App State. Tulane, the 7 seed, will host North Carolina. Louisville at number 3. That was one of those teams. So yeah, Louisville actually jumped up. They should have been in a 4 seed, but they jumped up to 3 because I think I had too many SEC teams or something. I can't remember. But yeah, South Alabama there at 14. Kansas State at number 6 seed will host Wisconsin, and they will be playing to get to the Texas Bowl, and then again regional finals in the Sugar Bowl. But you look at Texas, you look at LSU, you look at Georgia. All of those teams do really well in these simulations, but don't count out USC and Miami. I know in real life probably wouldn't be all that competitive in this kind of tournament, but on the game, those two teams usually do pretty well. And so you get to the finals, what will look like. We'll have the Sugar Bowl and Rose Bowl champions will face off, and then the Cotton Bowl and Peach Bowl regions will face off there. And then we'll do the Houston game, the Texas kickoff that's on the game, the Chick-fil-A kickoff. I might switch that Chick-fil-A kickoff since we have the Peach Bowl already. That would put 2 games in Atlanta, or maybe I'll just leave it alone. This is just the layout that I had used before. I can't remember what other neutral site games, stadiums are on the game, but we'll see about that. Anyways, and then we'll have the national championship, and so on the game we'll have to use the stadium from last season because that's what they used on College Football Revamp. But this should be a lot of fun. Make sure you give me your picks down in the comments below. Who do you think is going to make it to the Final Four? And join us live every single night over on the SG1 Sports 2 channel as we go through this 64-team tournament.